think you can see where I am. One of my favourite haunts. Yeah. There it is, folks. So I'm here again, and we have a full house today. We have a I-Pace, we have a Nissan Leaf, we have a Renault Zoe, and we also have just left a Tesla Model 3. Now I'm here in the i3. So here we go with the next post. Sunglasses now off. You can see who I am. Not so good without sunglasses. This one's all about town cars, city cars. How good are they? Which is the best? Which is the worst? They're all going to be electric because I don't see any city or town car as a fossil car anymore. I really don't, not with the pollution. So let's look into this, see where we go with it, see what comes out on top in my opinion, in my humble opinion, and which is the worst. You might have noticed this new cap I've got on here. Birthday present from one of my sons. Thank you. From the one who doesn't like EVs as much as the other two. He'll be wearing one soon, I'm quite sure. Okay, let's move this on. Welcome back to the channel. Now again, in the intro, I did mention I've not bought any fossil fuel cars into this. The good reason behind that is, folks, that nowadays in cities and major towns, there's enough pollution out there without bringing in more fossil fuel cars to city centres. The first one I'm going to come to is the Renault Zoe. Now the Renault Zoe, when it first came out in 2014, 22 kilowatt battery pack, wasn't great on range, wasn't made for anything else apart from to get you into the electric car scene at a desired price that Renault thought was great, and it was quite good at the time. It's now to a 50 kilowatt, 51 kilowatt battery pack, and obviously with that in mind, the range has gone up considerably. It's still possibly one of the best cars you can buy as an ex-demo or a slightly used at around £19,000-20,000 for a 2020 or a 2021 vehicle that gives you guaranteed around 230 mile in the summer and still kind of edges on that 200 in the winter. It's got a decent battery management system with it underneath. The trunk size stroke boot size is decent. It's light on the steering. There's not much that I don't like about the Renault Zoe. You know, I do that East Coast thing. I live very central in the Midlands of the UK. So I do that East Coast and back scenario. Now from here it's about 94 mile to the East Coast in the car park, ready to go and get some candy floss and get on the beach when it's decent weather. So you need a car that can do 200 miles of range to get there and back without stopping, and then charge it back at home when you get here. So that's why I'm giving it 8 out of 10 overall in this best of 7. All right, we're going to move over to the Fiat 500e. This is a bit like Marmite. Some people don't like these things. Others think that they are super duper and the best thing since sliced bread. Again, very connected to the female aspect of motoring. They are quick, they are nimble, they steer where you want to steer them. Boot space is very limited to a bit of literage there. It's not great on the boot capacity. Your rear seat passengers do come a bit crammed, whereas the Zoe previously, not so. The Fiat 500e, it is in this list of 7, but I wouldn't put it near the #1 spot by any means. But as you can see in these pictures here, it is quite nice inside now. It has come on leaps and bounds. But would I have one on a personal level? I'm going to say no. I wouldn't go out and buy one because although the range is quite decent on the new ones with the battery size it's got, and again that's a bit of a bonus once you're out of town and city, it's not quite got what I would consider the needs of an electric car for me on a personal level. When it comes to town and city, great, easy to park, nice little nimble things, and not bad on price. They're not expensive by all means in comparison to other EVs that do similar ranges. So I'm going to give the Fiat 500 an overall score of 7 out of 10. Okay, as you notice, what I'm doing is putting bits and bobs you can read on the screen as I'm going through these. It's just extra add-on and bits that you can read and you can get specs from and everything else as we go through these vehicles. So we're going to jump on to number 3 now, and the third one that I'm going to bring up is the BMW i3. Obvious reasons, I'm a very big supporter of the i3. I've owned one now for a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in August. And to be fair, I cannot fault the thing. It's like, you know, buying a tin of beans. You know what you're going to get inside and it's going to be beans. Well, the i3 is similar to that. It does what it says on the can, all right? It's Dodgem-like. Yes, you feel the bumps when you're driving it, but the actual, because of the regen and because of the battery pack and the way it's been built and the BMS system around that battery pack and the build quality as well, being a BMW, and the futuristic styling, although again it's a bit like Marmite, you either hate it or you love it, I've got to grow to very much like it. I was on the 50-50 level when I first looked at one, then I started to like them, and then I bought one, and now I like it even more. I've got that used to the quirky doors at the back, as you can see here. I've spoke about i3s many times on this channel, you know that, and you do know what I want. Around town and city, they are astronomical. The regen is that good. If I start off at my house here with say 80 mile on the guessometer, the GOM, I can go round Loughborough town in heavy traffic and take my time and everything else, and by the time I've come back home, I've normally got more miles on the guessometer, okay, on the dash, than I left here with. Steers like a Dodgem car. Like I say, you will feel the bumps, but the boot space is not brilliant, but you can bring the back seats up slightly, so the flat are more like that than they are. That when they're in normal, you can bring them up so they're that. So it gives a bit more literish in space, and obviously the seats fold down, just as the Fiat 500 and the Renault Zoes do. I'm not going to rant any more about the i3. It is what it is, and we'll come to it more after I've done a few more cars. Okay, next one on the list is the Mini. Now, I've never been a massive Mini fan. I can remember back in the day when I was around, how old would I have been? 14, 15. My sister had a purple Mini, one of the very first early ones, and she went on holiday. Like a fool, she left the keys in the house, didn't she? We lived on a council estate, and at the back of our estate was a big two rows of garages with a big tarmac area, which you drove in round the back, and all these houses backed onto this garage space. Well, it was quite a big garage space. Anyway, Kevin being Kevin, car mad as he was even at 13, 14, waited till she went on holiday. The day after, gets the keys, boom, stop, and I was putting that thing, doing handbrake turns, loads of stuff. I'm glad there weren't phones about them with pictures and videos being took. Put the keys, hung them back up, and she never knew any wiser. I did tell her I'd done it years and years ago. That was a great little car. But back to the new one, back to the E. The Mini E is basically the same again. They do handle very well. If you're a Mini fan and you've not drove a Mini E, the electric version, go out and drive one, go and have a go. You'll find it very similar to the i3. But although it's quite hard suspension, it's a bit more giving than the i3 is. The i3, because it's very narrow tyres, does pick up the bumps, even if you know, which it shouldn't do really, but it does. Whereas the Mini, with fatter tyres and a slightly better suspension, I'd guess, than the i3, you don't feel the bumps as much. But again, trunk space, cargo space, not great, but that's the Mini E. I've not got a lot more to say about it. It is up there in the high numbers of this, but you know, the reviews are always good on them. But again, a great city car. So we'll move off the Mini. That's the Mini E. Okay, now I've gone onto this one here, and you'll see it now just coming up on the picture. Now you're going to think, in the day and age of 2022, who still buys these things? Well, you know, at the end of the day, there's some good quality used prices out there for this as a city and a town car. This car is so small, it will get into places where others can't. Yes, you're down to 2 people. Yes, you're down to a small trunk stroke cargo space in the back and boot. But again, it's not something you'd really want to be up and down motorways with, and not something you'd take out of town. So although I've not marked the Mini and everything else, I will do them in a graph at the end of this. You'll see what I'm going to mark them at. But as regards the Smart for 2, the Smart car, I wouldn't go out and buy one now, although I did have one back in the day, like I said earlier. I wouldn't buy one because of 1, the range, 2, the price that they are holding. I don't think they're worth the money. And 3, the 2 people scenario. It's like having a sports car but without the sports. Does that make sense to you? That's the problem with the Smart. And I won't say it's going to be in the top 4 because I'll be lying, but that's the Smart EQ. Okay, down to my last 2 now. I'm going to come up with the Honda E. Now the Honda E is one of my favourite cars, electric cars at the minute. It has got a lovely swooping front dash full of cameras, and I'm quite techie, and I do like my big cameras, and they go all the way around, as you can see on this picture here. Interior wise, very retro, bit basic looking inside. Rear seating is not great, but it is a small compact car. And again, it lets itself down on the range. Now the range on the Honda E, you'll find will be no more than around 95 in the winter and about 125 in real world driving in the summer. Great shame, because if they'd have put a larger battery pack in that and squeezed more in it, I think I'd have really seriously looked at one. Like I said a bit earlier, if you could get 180 to 200 mile range on a full charge out of a Honda E, it would have been a plausibility factor for me to go and actually have a driving one and possibly buy one. As a second car, if my wife all of a sudden says I want my own electric car, yeah, I probably would look at the Honda E on a used basis. But that's the Honda E. Again, trunk space not great, back seats go down as normal, give you a bit more cargo space, but I do love the interior. So that's the Honda E. Last but not least, woo, out of 7 seems a long time coming. The 7th one I'm going to go for here is the Volkswagen E Up. Now the Volkswagen E Up is a very, very small, compact car, very easy to park, quite flat back, so you know exactly where you are with it. You know, get a reversing camera on there and everything else, and get the top spec one, and they are great little cars for a city and town vehicle. Would I go long distance in one? Wouldn't bother me none, because the battery pack size isn't little like the Smart or even the Honda E. Like I said, when I started this, there is more out there than just this 7. Now I'm going to stop, think about this, and I'm going to come back and put them as 7 to number 1. Okay, here we go. Getting warm in here, excuse me. Oh, it's not bad, is it? I haven't got a Tesla to go with it, but hey ho. Right, number 7, it's this one. Yep, no shocks there. It's the smallest out of the lot, easy to park in town and cities, but because of the 2-seater and the very small battery pack and the price that they still demand, it's my 7 out of 7. The Volkswagen E Up is 6 out of the 7, comes number 6 because, again, quite a small trunk stroke cargo stroke boot space in the back, looking a bit dated now, and you know, at the end of the day they are a bit sparse inside and there's not much tech to them. Number 5, now this might shock you because I did rant and rave about this, the Honda E. In this blue, my favourite colour, I've only marked it as 5 out of 7 purely because of its cost. When it was new, it was £33,000, you know, which was quite expensive for a small, not great range car with a retro interior. Although different, I think it should have been around the 26, 27 mark and had a bigger battery pack. Number 4, okay, again, this might shock you. I've gone for number 4 as the Mini. Now people are going to say to me, hold on a minute, the Mini's great, the Mini should be well up there, but it's not. I'll tell you why it's not up there. Because it's quite a heavy little car, it's a robust thing, but they've got a lot of blind spots on them and they're not the easiest things to park. So when it comes to town and city driving, I don't think the Mini is as good as my top 3 vehicles will be. 3. Yes, I wasn't going to do this and I've let it beat the Mini, but I've gone for the Fiat 500e. Now, if this would have been a review on 7 cars that you should own, not just for town and city, the Fiat 500 would be towards the bottom. But because it is so small, super easy to park, some won't agree because of its unreliability factor when it was a fossil fuel car. But so far, the actual E model has been very good. Okay folks, we're now on to the top 2 of this 7. So number 2, I think you've sussed it already, is going to be the Renault Zoe. Now my reasoning of put the Renault Zoe at number 2 is, 1, because it's starting to date a bit, okay? It's starting to date in looks. Although the interior has been revamped, it's very nice inside now in comparison to the older one. And it has got excellent range outside of the town. And that's what's made it number 2, the range of the thing, because that thing will do 230, 240 mile. So yeah, that's my number 2, that's the Renault Zoe. And it only gets to number 2, like I say, because of the range that it's got. Okay, bringing me to number 1 of the pack of the 7, and it's got to be the BMW i3. Now, a lot of you out there are going to think, oh, Kev's done it again, biased again because he owns one. there are some cars on there that have had some issues, whereas the i3 battery pack, for example, and its motors have been excellent so far, all the way back from 2014. So this is what's edged me into putting it into the #1 spot, because of its agility, its ease of drive. It's very easy to park. It's got a lovely high definition reversing camera that helps, and it can park itself as well. But I know 2 or 3 others can as well, which I didn't mention. But the i3 can. But no, as regards driving that thing in traffic and off the mark, you're at the lights and this boy racer comes up, in a BMW blah blah, or even a V8 Audi or whatever, and then puts your foot down and leaves those lights from 0 to 40. I'm not kidding. Most of the time you do leave these people for standing, and then they come up to you and give you a thumbs up and go, yeah, you were right. And they're mega surprised how quick this 170 brake horsepower thing is. The power is fluid from 0. That acceleration off the mark is more to me than it is top end nowadays. Alrighty people, that's it. That's my 7 from heaven, heaven from 7. All been EVs. Go out and treat yourself to one, because even new or used, like I said, they're all under 20k. Guaranteed. Some of those I've just mentioned there are under 10. You get brand new for 20 on 1 or 2 of these, actually, if I remember rightly. You will. So, thanks for watching again. If you've not subscribed yet, please do. The analytics are always good if you give me a thumbs up for this video afterwards. Hope it's been informative, like I say. If you've not subscribed, why not? Where have you been? I say this every time. I'm KK, my family does this with me, gets involved. Plenty more to come up on the channel, people. So, hope you like this one. We'll see you later.